All right, today we're going to tackle a really important question, especially for anyone who needs precision from their computer. And that is, what is your mouse's real sensitivity? We're going to find out its true DPI. So let's just dive right in.
So, you know that number printed right there on the box? 800 DPI, maybe 1600 DPI. But is that what you're actually getting? Well, there's a pretty good chance that what's advertised doesn't quite line up with what's really happening on your screen.
And this, right here, is the core issue. We'll call it the DPI disconnect. There's often this gap between the number on the box and how your mouse really performs. And you might think, what's the big deal? But that tiny mismatch can throw off everything, from your aim in a game to your pixel-perfect work in a design program. Okay, before we get any deeper, let's just make sure we're all on the same page. What even is DPI? It stands for dots per inch, and all it really means is it's a measure of how many pixels your cursor scoots across the screen for every single inch you physically move your mouse. So, higher DPI equals faster, more sensitive cursor. So how do you find out the truth? Well, the solution is actually super simple. It's a free online tool you can find at mouse.dpianalyzer.com. It's all browser-based, which means you can measure your mouse's true sensitivity with some serious precision. And the best part? No downloads needed at all. Okay, now for the fun part, the how-to. Let's walk through exactly how to use this tool to find your mouse's true DPI. I promise it's a super simple process. You're only going to need 3 things for this. First, your mouse, obviously. Second, a regular old ruler or a measuring tape. I bet you've got one somewhere. And third, the online analyzer tool itself. That's it. No special software, no downloads. Okay, so the test itself is just 5 simple steps. First up, you set a target distance on the tool. And here's a little pro tip. A larger distance, say 5 or 6 inches, usually gives you a more accurate result. Then you choose your unit. Inches, centimeters, whatever works for you. Next, you just click and hold anywhere in that big measurement area. Don't freak out when your cursor disappears. That's supposed to happen. Now, all you do is physically move your mouse that exact distance along your ruler. Once you've moved it, just release the mouse button and you'll get your number. So, this is what you'll see before you start the test. The analyzer is just sitting there at 0, all ready for you to make your move. And boom! Just like that, there's your number. The tool instantly does the math, calculating the pixels your cursor traveled versus the physical distance you moved the mouse, and it spits out a precise, real-world DPI value. So, you've got your number. But what does it actually mean? And more importantly, how can you be sure it's accurate? Let's break down how to actually understand these results. All right, here's a really key tip if you want maximum accuracy. Don't just test it once. Seriously, do it 3 or 4 times and then just calculate the average. Look, tiny little variations in your hand movement are totally normal, so averaging them out is what gives you the most reliable, rock-solid DPI figure. And here's another great tip that'll help you make sense of your results. Most gaming mice, right? They're built with DPI steps in nice round multiples of 50. Like 400, 800, 1200, 1600, that kind of thing. So let's say your test result comes back at something like 798. Well, it's a pretty safe bet your mouse's true DPI is actually 800. Now, you might be wondering, okay, but why should I trust some random website tool over my mouse's own software? And you know what? That is a great question. The answer really gets to the heart of why this method is so darn accurate. Okay, so this really shows the key difference. The manufacturer's software, it just reports the internal setting. It's what the mouse thinks it's doing. But the online analyzer, it measures what's actually happening on your screen, based on real physical movement and actual pixels. You're not getting some theoretical number. You're measuring true, real-world performance. All right, let's do a quick-fire round and answer some of the most common questions people have. First up, the big one for Windows users. Enhance pointer precision. You probably know it as mouse acceleration. So, do you need to turn it off for this test? And the answer is no. According to the tool's own FAQ, it uses the raw input data straight from your mouse. What that means is it completely bypasses any of those operating system settings, like pointer precision. It's measuring the pure hardware performance with 0 interference. Okay, next question. What about that sensitivity slider in your Windows or Mac settings? Surely that has to affect the test, right? And believe it or not, that setting doesn't matter either. The tool works perfectly, completely regardless of your OS sensitivity. And that's because, again, it's measuring the true, raw, unaltered performance of the mouse hardware itself, not the software on top of it. So let's just do a quick recap of the key takeaways here. First off, the DPI on the box might not be the whole truth. Second, you can find your real DPI super easily with just a ruler and a free online tool. Third, and this is the big one, this method measures actual performance, not just some setting in a piece of software. And finally, knowing that true number, that gives you the foundation for pixel-perfect accuracy and control in, well, everything you do on your computer. And that really leaves us with one final thought. You know, for all you gamers out there, this could be the absolute key to building consistent, reliable muscle memory. For designers, it's all about achieving that flawless, pixel-perfect precision. So the real question is, now that you know how to find your true DPI, how are you going to use that power?